Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Kuf Gimel Amud Aleph, 5 lines from the top. The Mishnah had stated that a malacha of boine is chayiv even for a kol shehu, a minimum amount, to which the Gemara explained even if a person puts a piece of lead filling up a small hole, that's considered to be amount that will be chayiv him on Shabbos. The Mishnah stated a general principle, and that principle says as follows: Anybody does a malacha on Shabbos that will endure the way it is, even though it's a kol shehu of binyan, then it will be chayiv. Explains the Gemara. What does this come to include, this principle, this general rule? Says the Gemara, dochak kviza bekaba. When a person puts a hole into a piece of wood that has the ability to then put a whole kav, and he puts 3/4 of a kav, which means that he intends to then come back and make a deeper hole to finish the entire kav, yet he leaves it as 3/4 deep. That's sufficient because even though he himself intends to then make it deeper, but since others use this type of 3/4 depth, that's considered to be enduring, and therefore he's going to be chayav. The Gemara now quotes the following part of the Mishnah at the Sefer, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Oimer Hamake Bekarnos Al Hasadon. It says over here, according to Rabbi Gamliel, if a person will hit the kurnos, the anvil, while he's doing malacha, he will be chayav for that hitting of the anvil alone. Ask the Gemara, my ka'avi, what malacha is he doing when he hits the anvil with the hammer? He's practicing, therefore, to know how heavy, how hard, or how light he should hit the hammer when he goes ahead and hits the plates or whatever he's working on. So therefore, that itself is the malacha. Ask the Gemara, Koshuba b'nei Rachva. If a person sees somebody doing a craft and he learns from that, that's going to be considered a malacha because he observes and he learns from it. There's no malacha being done then. Would you say also he's chayiv? So too over here, how can you say he's chayiv just because he practices how hard or how soft he should hit the hammer? Answers the Gemara, Elabai v'rova damri travayu shekein medadidei tasei mishkan oisin kain. Rather, Abai and Rava say that is indeed how the medadei tasei mishkan would do. In other words, he's not just practicing, he's hitting the hammer so that the hammer remains smooth. Since in the Mishkan, when they would then work on the golden plates, these are the coverings that would go on the krushim, on the boards of the Mishkan. So it was a thin piece of gold. As not to then dent it, they'd have to make sure that the hammer was smooth. So after every few hits on the sheet of metal, after they would pound it, they would hit the anvil to make sure that the hammer remained smooth. Tani Nami Hoch, we also have a brisa like this. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Oimer Af Hamake Bekurnas Al Hasadon B'Shas Melacha Chayav, and the brisa continues Shekein Medadei Tasei Mishkan Oisin Kain. So too, that's how they do in the Mishkan, where they would pound the plates, the golden plates of the Mishkan. They would also then hit the anvil in order to then make sure that the hammer is smooth and not to dent up the plates. Gemara now brings the next Mishnah, which leaves now malachas boine and makbe patish and goes to other malachos, specifically focusing on choresh, plowing, and other related malachos. Ha-choresh kol shehu. Plowing even a little bit, a minimum amount, is going to be chayev chatos, and plowing refers to then an improvement of the land, of the ground, tikun karko. Some explain the following: hamenakesh, by weeding in order to improve the ground. Menakesh, according to some, explain making holes into the ground. Hamekarsem refers to pulling out some of the weeds in order to improve the ground. Hamazared refers to taking out some of the branches in order to improve the ground. Koshu would be chayiv, even a little bit would be chayiv for the malacha as a tolda of choresh, of plowing. However, others learn that these last three items are not referring to plowing, but rather the malacha of zareya, planting, and therefore Hamenakesh is weeding in order to then cause to grow better the other things that are around the weeds. Hamekarsem refers to cutting off some of the dry branches. Some of the moist branches. V'mezared, cutting off some of the dry branches. Kol shu chayiv, all of these things will be chayiv from melecha zareya, even a kol shehu. Hamalakit eitzim, the Mishnah goes on to say, one who gathers an eitzim that he had just cut fresh from the tree to then gather together the branches. So it depends. Im l'sakein kol shehu shehin. If it's misakein, in order to improve, then it'll be even a minimal amount. What is it coming to improve? Either it's coming to improve, let's say, the ground, that would be charesh, or improve the tree, should be zoreya. Im lehesek, if he's doing it in order to then bring it for firewood, then he's cutting it for firewood, then it's going to be koitzer, the malach of koitzer. If it's, and that there will have a different shiur, kedei levashel beitza kala, in order to then cook a beitza of a hen, and not the entire beitza of the hen, but rather a gerogeres of this beitza. Hamalaket asovim, one who gathers together asovim, in other words, he takes out asovim and he gathers them together. So it depends why he's doing that. Im lesakein, again, if it's in order to then mesakein the ground, then it's charesh. Kolshu, even a small amount. Im lebehema, if it's in order to then use to feed animals, then it's kimulo pia gedi, it's the shear of the mouthful of a gedi, a small goat. Says the Gemara, asking the following question: L'may chazi, if you're going to say charesh is a chayiv, if it's just a kol shehu, so what is it chazi? What is it fitting to then make a charisha of kol shehu? Answers the Gemara, chazi lebizra dekra, by plowing, making a hole for one seed of a gourd. The kavase gabe mishkan, we find also in the Mishkan, shekain roy lekaleach lekelach echad shel simonim, that one who then also made a hole for a kelach, a stalk, in order to then plant the simonim that would be used for their dye. So we have a precedent in the Mishkan for that. The Gemara now quotes the next three items of the Mishnah: HaMenakesh, Mekarsem, HaMezare. Ton Rabbanan bringing the following brisa: Hatoilesh Olshin, one who picks out grass, V'Hamezared Zrodim, and one who weeds the Zrodim. Im la'achila, if it's for food, then it's kigrogeres. If it's soft for human consumption, it's the shear of a dried fig. Im labehema, if it's going to be used for animal feed, kimlo pia gidi, then the mouthful of a kid, of a goat. Im lehesek, if it's going to be used for burning, kidei levashel beitza kala. Im liyapois is a karka, if it's going to then improve the land, the ground, kol shehein, even a little bit. Ask the Gemara, atu kulhu loy liyapois a karka, isn't all of these things going to then Mimela automatically then improve the ground? Answers the Gemara, we're talking about in an agam, in a swamp, that you don't need to improve the ground. It's already improved by not doing anything else. Abai Omar afilu teimo besode, the lav agam. Abai said you don't have to come onto a case of an agam, of a swamp, even if it's a regular field. It will also then be chayiv as well, even though it's not going to be improving the land, because Abai Omar afilu, because Abai says kagon deloy mechaven, he doesn't have kavana for the making of an improvement of the land. Ask the Gemara, Abai v'Rava da Amrei Travay, even Abai himself says together with Rava, Moide Rabbi Shimon b'psik reisha v'lo yamus, that Rabbi Shimon agrees that if you're going to do something that's going to automatically then make a malacha, so then it's called a psik reisha. Just like the chicken, if you cut off the head of the chicken, it's going to die. So too, if you're going to do something that's going to then automatically mimela make the malacha, so then it's a psik reisha. You're going to be held accountable. The Gemara says no, lo tzricha The ka'avid ba'ara de chavrei. We're talking about when he did this improvement in his friend's field, and therefore he doesn't care that there's an improvement or not, and therefore it's not considered to be a tikkun of the karka liyabis karka if he doesn't intend to do so. What's called a psik reisha de lo nichale, or here a psik reisha de lo ichbas le. The Gemara now brings the following Mishnah, moving on to another malacha of kesiva, of writing. HaKoisei shtei oisiyos, the shear of writing on Shabbos is 2 oisiyos. Bein biyamino, bein bismol, whether it's with his right hand or his left hand. Bein mishem echod, bein mishtei shemos, whether it's with one character, with one letter, or with 2 letters. Bein mishtei simonios, whether it's with 2 different types of ink, or the same ink. Bekol lashon, in any language that has an alphabet or types of characters. Chayev, he will be chayev. Rav Yosi lo chayevu shtei oisios ela mishum roshim. Rav Yosi says he's not going to be chayev for the melacha of ksiva as writing, but rather for roshim, for making markings. Why? Because shekach koisvin al karshe hamishkan leida eza ben zugoy. He argued on the Tanakama what was used when they would dismantle the boards of the Mishkan in order to then keep it so that they're the same place to when they re-erect it, that they should know which planks go where. So they put next to each plank a siman. According to Rabbi Yossi, it was just a mark, let's say even a line. Or according to the Tanakama, it was indeed a character. Rabbi Yehuda Matzinu Shem Kota Mishem Godo, we find one small shame inside of another bigger shame to be chayiv somebody even if he doesn't write the bigger shame. For example, shame mishimen umishmuel. He writes shin mem, which is a name in itself, shame. When he's about to write the name Shmuel or Shimon, and instead he stops after 2 letters, he'll be chayav. Noch minochor. If he writes nun ches, which he intends to write nochor, but he writes noyach, he's going to be chayiv. Don midaniel, he writes daled nun, intending to write Daniel, and he stops after 2 oisios, he'll be chayav. God migadiel, and similarly, if he stops after gimel daled, the name God, he will be chayav. Says the Gemara, Bishlomo ayamin lechayiv. The Gemara asks that it goes very well that he'll be chayiv for the right hand. Mishum the derek siva beka, because that's a regular way of writing. Elo asmol amai. But for the writing on the left hand, why would that be chayiv for writing with the left hand? Ha'ein derech ksiva b'kach. That's not a derech. That would be a shinui. Answers the Gemara, Yirmiyahu be'iter yad shonu. We're talking about a lefty, and therefore he'd be chayiv. He writes with the left hand. Ask the Gemara, but they have a small didei kemin de kuli alma. His left hand is like everybody else's right hand. So therefore, just like a righty can write only with his right hand, a lefty can only write with his left hand. Whereby v'asmol lechayiv ayamin lo yichayiv. If he's a lefty, he'll only be chayiv for the left hand and not on the right. Similarly, a person on the right hand will be chayiv for the right hand, but not for the left. So why does the Mishnah say bein yamin, bein yismol? Elomar Abaye b'shoyleit b'shtei yadav. Abaye says we're talking about somebody who has control of both hands, whereby he can write in ambidextrous with both the right hand as well as with the left hand. Rabbi Yaakov Berei de Bas Yaakov Omar, he has a different mahalach to explain. Homani Rabbi Yosi, this Mishnah says you can write either with the right hand or the left and be chayiv, even if it's not an ambidextrous. The Omar loy chivo shtei oisios el mishum roshim, because Rabbi Yosi says in the Mishnah that a person is not going to be chayiv for ksiva, but rather for making markings, roshim, and therefore even a righty can write not only with his right hand, but he can also make a roshim with his left hand. V'homid this say for Rabbi Yosi, he asked the Gemara, but that which it states an opinion of Rabbi Yosi, that it's lo chivu shtei oisios el mishum roshim, mentioning the name Rabbi Yosi, mashma that this is a separate opinion than the Tanakama. Mid the say for Rabbi Yosi, he veishalav Rabbi Yosi. Answers the Gemara, kula Rabbi Yosi. Even the Reisha, which is unnamed, is referring to Rabbi Yosi.